Mike Papantonio is on the line with us, attorney, host of Ring of Fire Radio. The website, of course, ringoffireradio.com. And hey, Pap, how you doing today?
Tom, you sound busy, man.
You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it.
I know it's going well. It's a great book. I just can't even, and I know I've told you, but it's just so well done.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of work went into that. So you've been talking and thinking about the mainstream media's war against Obama, basically. I mean, it seems like when Republicans rolled out Medicare Part D, there were problems, but I don't recall the media going hysterical about that.
No, they are hysterical. You know, the thing they're missing is the most obvious. Obama saw a healthcare disaster, and he ran in to try to fix it. Kind of like a fireman running into a fire to save people. Right. The Republicans, they saw this Katrina disaster, and they ran away from it. But you have the media trying to come up with these comparisons and these false equivalence issues like that. That's just one example. I mean, you can only conclude that there are a couple of possibilities about what's going on with the media's handling of everything that is Obama these days. I mean, either they've become woefully ignorant about facts and reality, or there's a design to sell more commercials with baseless, poorly analyzed attacks on the White House. And what's happening, Tom, is you have this Fox News-like comparison between Bush and Katrina buffoonery, but it's not just Fox News; it's all the major networks. Here, look, here's the truth of it: an Obama failed computer system. That's the big talking point right now. It's like making this profoundly sophomoric comparison between dozens of bloated bodies floating in New Orleans post-Katrina, and you're comparing that to a failed FEMA system where you compare that to a computer glitch. Right. The truth is, you can fix the computer glitch. You can't fix the damage that the Republicans did there. Or, look, 5,000 dead soldiers in Iraq because of a war that was based on lies. You can fix a computer system, but you can't fix the 5,000 American soldiers and the 100,000 Iraqis, innocent civilians that were killed.
Yeah, the other day, Chuck Todd interviewed the president, and he said, basically, given that you lied to people about, you can keep your insurance, are you concerned that in the future nobody's going to believe you, that you've lost trust and credibility with the American people? I was horrified just at the question. Obama handled it well, but I don't recall anybody, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Pap, you're a pretty good consumer of the media as well. I don't recall anybody asking George W. Bush a similar question, a version of that, which would be, you lied us into this war in Iraq. Do you think that in the future people are not going to take you seriously?
Right. No, there wasn't a question like that.
And nobody's asking Cheney that now either, or his daughter who was cheerleading for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it goes on. I mean, how about the comparison of 3,000 Americans being murdered in the Twin Towers because the Bush administration didn't have the discipline and the good sense to read their damn briefings.
Yeah.
I mean, so all of these comparisons that are coming up just look almost brain dead, sophomoric, including what Chuck Todd did in that ridiculous interview. The truth is, there's CBS Benghazi story is the best example of what the media is up to. Look, they can apologize all they want, but what it was just a pure hit piece. It was nothing more than a cheap hit piece so they could improve their ratings for 15 minutes and destroy their credibility for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, the problem is it's not just Fox News anymore. And, look, let me just tell you something. There's plenty to criticize this president about, but the things they're going after here are just absurd.
Yeah, they really are, and it's almost like I read the Gettysburg Address earlier. It's the 150th anniversary, and the president talks about bringing this nation together, and healing the wounds. And when you look at the states that are turning down the Obamacare money or the expansion of Medicaid, it's the old Confederacy. It's like they're back. They're still with us. They never went away.
Well, it's tough to down here. I was raised around it, Tom. I was raised in the South. Still live in the South. where you've got Confederate flags flying. They're proud of it. It's like, but it's not just about the fact that it's not just a race issue anymore down here. It's a race issue mixed up with the idea that we're going to have our day, and we're going to have our day no matter how much damage we have to do in the process. That's the mentality down here. And it's being led by, unfortunately at this point, it's being led by the governors of these states. Whether it's Rick Scott in Florida, who's anything but, a Southerner, or Rick Perry in Texas, they want to leave people with the idea. And if you ask most of these folks, put your finger on what it is that's happening in the South. It's not just race, and it's not even just state rights anymore. It's almost like they've been pouting since they lost this damn Civil War, and now they just can't let it go. So a lot of what we're seeing here, we expect from low-hanging fruit in the South, but we don't expect to see what's going on with the media, who should have enough intelligence and integrity to ask real questions and analyze things on kind of a realistic basis. We don't expect the media to do that. And unfortunately, that's where we've headed. It's almost like they're involved in the race to the bottom too, Tom. Rather than being leaders, they're simply following the race to the bottom.
I have an idea to take an old Ronald Reagan meme that worked quite well for him and turn it on the Republicans. I'd love to get your take on it. The states that are turning down the Medicaid expansion money, where did that money come from? It came from federal tax dollars, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So why don't the Democrats in those states run against the Republicans by saying, it's your money? You sent that money through the IRS to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is offering to give your money back to you in the form of cheap health insurance, and Rick Scott doesn't want you to have it. It's your money, and he doesn't want you to have your money. Vote the bum out. What do you think?
The problem with the argument, Tom, is it's rational. and you can't, there is no rational discussion that takes place. I did a series of town hall meetings last year for affiliates of Fox. I was always the only liberal up against, three wingnuts. Mm-hmm. And so I would show up at these town hall meetings, and you could look into the eyes of the folks that were listening. And it wasn't there. The idea of making a rational argument with those people was just a waste of time. Now, people sometimes are critical of my attack mode that I use in my media platforms. And what I've realized, and you are much better at your different universe as far as where it comes to having taking the time to try to explain the various elements of something. I've concluded, having been raised here in the South and been subjected to this for my entire life, that there's a place where there is no rationality. Mm-hmm. And there's a place where the best pushback is to punish the other side. So a lot of what I do media-wise, whether it's radio or television, free speech TV, whatever it is very harsh in a lot of ways, because I don't believe there's a rational audience out there sometimes.
Well, I think there's absolutely a time and place to take names and kick ass, and you're one of the best. Absolutely one of the best. Mike Papantonio, attorney and host of Ring of Fire Radio. ringofireradio.com is the website. Be sure and check it out. We'll be back.